Hi there, I'm Fernanda Paiva, Hitchhiking Stars, bringing you some insights about the lunations. And today we're going to talk about the full moon. So the coming full moon at 24 degrees exact, Taurus. So this full moon will be happening on the 15th of November 2024. And it's a very exciting one. It's a very exciting and unpredictable full moon as well. And that's because the major aspect that this full moon will be making is a very close, a very tight conjunction to the planet Uranus. So Uranus will be really super close to this full moon. So if the moon is at 24 Taurus, Uranus is at 25 Taurus. So that's very, very close. Now, Uranus is a planet that we joke in the astrological community that if you made a prediction, it wasn't Uranus, because Uranus is all about unpredictability. So all the events are unexpected and unpredictable and big surprises, and the whole idea of, expect the unexpected really applies to this full moon. Now, full moons are also a combination in the lunar cycle. So there is a combination type of energy and a release of energy as well. And so some big things could be happening in our lives. In particular, if you have any placements, natal planets, or angles at 24 degrees of the fixed signs. So 24 degrees Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, or Taurus. So this is going to be a big sort of activation of your natal chart, and it will be felt in a more personal and urgent way as well. So this conjunction with Uranus is definitely very domineering in terms of the chart of this full moon. As usual, I have the chart of the full moon in front of me as I'm speaking, and this aspect to Uranus is definitely the biggest, strongest kind of domineering energy here in this chart. So anything to do with awakening as well. That full moon could be a huge wake-up call for us in our lives, wherever that full moon is falling in your chart. It's a big wake-up call, it's a big revelation as well, some sort of breakthrough as well, it could be. Or unexpected changes, like I said, something that we didn't see coming or that we weren't really expecting to happen. But I think one of the things to watch for or to watch out for when Uranus is involved in a transit like this is codependence, because Uranus challenges any kind of codependence. So if we're not really stepping into our individual power and doing things for ourselves and cultivating our sense of independence, I think that a powerful lunation with Uranus involved tends to be quite dramatic, or potentially quite dramatic, because it is a lot about reclaiming that sense of autonomy. I think autonomy is a big word here. Obviously, the fact that we have Taurus and Scorpio involved is an interesting mix, because Taurus and Scorpio are a lot about security, and they're both fixed signs from the more yin energy, or the yin element. So we've got earth and water, and there is a lot of emotional and material security that's involved when we have those two signs in a transit. So we might feel triggers or experience different triggers that could feel like a threat to these different, areas, or there's different flavors in our lives, right? So our emotional security in a relationship or a job or a role or a material situation in some way. So that could be some challenges there. But I think the core of those challenges is the sense of autonomy and the sense of opening up to fresh perspectives and to fresh opportunities or situations as well. I think that's another thing that Uranus really does. And for many of you who does tarot as well, Uranus carries the energy and the signature of the Fool. So this full moon has a very strong connection with the archetype of the Fool. Now the Fool is card number 0 from the major arcana. And number 0 is also the shape of an egg, which contains a lot of potentials, right? In a kind of a seed format. And it does requires a lot of trust and a lot of courage, like in the Fool's kind of outlook or in the way that the Fool walks around in a lot of the decks. And obviously, the Fool can also act foolishly and, fall off that abyss because he's not really looking where he's walking. So make sure that you look where you're walking. But it is a card that talks about changes, unexpected potentials, and the sense of trusting as well the process. That's a really wonderful way of working with the Fool, trusting the unseen and the unknown, right? It's like throwing ourselves into these unknown situations. So there's a little bit of that with this full moon, or perhaps a lot of that with this full moon being so close to Uranus. Now, the full moon is also forming, so the other aspect that this full moon is making is a sextile to Neptune at 27 degrees Pisces, and a trine to Pluto at 29 Capricorn. So there's still that big sort of configuration between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which obviously, collectively speaking, is talking about evolution, growth, removal of obstacles as a whole for us collectively. But because the full moon is happening, picking up, being picked up by these sextiles and trines here between the outer planets, it really imprints the energy of this full moon with that sort of flavor as well. So there is a sense of potential evolution here as well, potential growth and change and removal of obstacles here as well for the better. Now, I haven't told you yet. I'm talking, and I haven't even told you yet the Sabian symbol. So the Sabian symbol for this full moon, or for the 24th degree of Taurus, is a large, well-kept public park. So a large, well-kept public park. Now that has a bit of a Uranus flavor as well for me, because we're talking about public. We're talking about a large, well-kept public park. It's not a private park. It's a park that everybody can use. It's a park that the community can make use of. And Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, so it shares some of the Aquarian flavors. Now also, park makes me think of Taurus as well. So a well-kept park seems to me to resonate with the fact that this full moon is conjoined Uranus in Taurus. So there's something about space. When we think about a large park, we know there is a lot of space. This is the first thing that comes to my mind is having a space, making sure that we have space in our relationships, in our work, in our lives, etc. So there's something about having enough space to roam around, to experiment, to be alone as well, to have a sense of aloneness, and also the public sort of side, I think, makes me think of cooperation with a group, which is another flavor with Uranus as well. So perhaps that's some of the seeds that we set, the intentions that we set on the 1st of November with the new moon in Scorpio, and the idea of the fellowship and the old comrades in that Sabian symbol now is kind of giving those fruits of this large, well-kept public park, or something that we could accomplish together, or that we can share and that we can do together. So there is a feeling of the collective here as well with this full moon. In terms of the aspects, there are a couple of interesting things I want to mention here as well. Saturn turns direct on the very, very same day of this full moon. So that's an important development here in terms of the astrology. So Saturn turning direct means that we're ready to move forward with the structures of our lives, with the important things, with the major important structures, and the commitments and the things that we take very seriously. We've been reviewing these things for a few months now, and in the day of this full moon, we're begin to feel ready to move forward with it as well. And Venus at the time of this full moon is in Capricorn, so the ruler of the full moon is in Capricorn, and that takes us back to that Saturn moving direct. So that's an interesting rulership that's going on as well here in the sky. I'm pointing out to these sense of commitments. Now, if you remember, with the new moon Scorpio that happened on the 1st, one of the aspects that this new moon formed was a trine to Saturn. So we talked about seeds and intentions that were tangible and that we could really accomplish. Now with Saturn moving direct, that process is continuing, and Venus also being in Capricorn, and that desire to create something tangible or to manifest things in the real world, in brackets, to do something with these energies, to make something happen. So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Now also Mercury will be forming as a opposition to Jupiter as well at the time of this full moon. So Mercury is at 16 Sagittarius, and Jupiter is at 19 Gemini. And for me, that really emphasizes the insightful nature of this full moon. So we have the full moon conjoined Uranus, which is the collective mind, and then we also have Mercury, Jupiter in opposition, and then mutual reception as well, huh? So Jupiter is in the sign of Mercury, and Mercury is in the sign of Jupiter. So we could really definitely have some big ideas or some perceptions or some big news that could come to us as well during this full moon. So that's also another thing that I thought was worth mentioning. And with the Venus in Capricorn as well, here's another interesting aspect here. Venus it's at 4 degrees Capricorn, and the nodes are at 5 degrees Aries and 5 degrees Libra. So also at the time of the full moon, we have a square between Venus and the nodes. And again, for me, is a kind of a reinforcement of a potential karmic lesson during this full moon as well, or a karmic realization or revelation, something that's beyond the private sort of feeling, but it really feels like a collective breakthrough and growth as well. So that's what I also noticed here. So all in all, I would say ride this wave, really go through this intense energy of the full moon as grounded as possible. Remember, it's a full moon Taurus. It will be challenging us wherever we're not truly aligned with our core values. I think that's an important message here. So don't be afraid of the sudden changes or, the sudden unexpected events, because they will be challenging only the areas where you're not fully embracing and fully aligned with your core values. So it's a wonderful opportunity to have revelations and insights connected to our core values. So that's it. I'm wishing you a wonderful full moon, very insightful and beautiful, empowering as well. And I'll be speaking to you all soon. So take care. Bye-bye.